Today we're diving into a pretty shocking story from the very dawn of aviation. It's a tale that was actually captured on film and, believe me, it still serves as a powerful cautionary tale about the high price of blinding conviction.
So, let's just get right to the heart of it. This entire story really boils down to this one single question. Why on earth did a man climb the Eiffel Tower all the way back in 1912 and just jump?
Okay, so your first thought is probably, oh, he was a daredevil, right? Some stuntman trying to make a name for himself? Nope, that's not what this was about at all.
Alright, so if it wasn't for fame, maybe something darker? An act of desperation? That's not it either. And here's the wild part. He went up there fully expecting to walk away from this whole thing without a scratch.
The real reason is probably the last thing you'd expect. He did it for progress. He did it for science. You see, he was an inventor, and this jump was supposed to be the ultimate live test of his amazing new creation. So, to really understand how he got to that point, we need to back up a bit. We've got to understand the man himself and the dream that was driving him. Okay, so let's paint a picture here. Our protagonist is a man named Franz Reichelt, an Austrian tailor living in Paris, and the time period is key. We're talking about the very beginning of aviation. Airplanes are this brand new, incredible thing, but they're also, they're death traps. Crashes happen all the time, and for a pilot, that usually meant it was game over. The parachutes they had back then, they were a joke. Huge, clumsy, unreliable, you could barely even fit one in those tiny early cockpits. So Reichelt, being a tailor, looks at this problem and thinks, I can fix this. He comes up with what he believes is a genius solution, the parachute suit. And you got to admit, the idea itself is pretty elegant. It's basically a coat that a pilot could just wear. If the plane starts going down, boom, the coat unfolds and becomes a life-saving parachute. No fumbling for equipment in a spinning cockpit, you're literally wearing your own escape.
And this really shows you what he was going for. I mean, just look at the difference. On one hand, you've got the standard parachutes of the time, these big, awkward lumps of fabric. And on the other hand, you have his dream, something integrated, innovative, something that's always on, always ready. You can totally see the appeal, right? It was a genuinely forward-thinking idea.
But you know, a great idea is one thing. Making it actually work, that's something else entirely. And when it came to the execution, the results were, let's just say, alarming.
And this is the part of the story that's just so crucial. He wasn't just guessing, he actually tested his invention. Over and over again, he'd toss dummies wearing the suit off of buildings. And the results? They couldn't have been clearer. Every single test was a total disaster. The suits never opened right, they didn't slow the fall one bit, they just collapsed into a useless tangle of fabric.
And it wasn't just the dummies hitting the ground like a sack of bricks either. People, actual experts, his friends, engineers, guys who really knew about flying, they were all telling him the same thing. They were saying, Franz, the design is flawed, it's just not ready.
But Reichelt was absolutely convinced that everyone else was wrong. In his mind, the problem wasn't his suit. No, the problem was that his tests just weren't from high enough. And that single stubborn conviction, that's what brings us back to the Eiffel Tower and to his final gamble.
So let's just walk through that morning. He gets a permit to do the test, but it came with one huge condition. He had to use a dummy. But when he gets there, a whole crowd of journalists and spectators is waiting. And that's when he reveals his real plan. He steps out onto the platform wearing the suit himself. His friends, the officials, they're horrified. They desperately beg him to stop, to use the dummy like he promised. And just to give you a sense of what we're talking about, he's on the first platform, 57 meters up. That's like standing on top of a 19-story building and staring down at the frozen ground below.
He ignored all of them. His logic was that the dummies were just too light. He had convinced himself that only the weight of a real person jumping could make the suit work. There's actual film from that day, and it's chilling. You can see him hesitate for almost 40 seconds, just looking down, and then he jumps.
The aftermath was as swift as it was tragic, and it cemented his story in history, not as a triumph, but as a truly chilling lesson.
The outcome was sadly inevitable. The suit did exactly what it had done in every single one of his failed tests. It collapsed instantly, it didn't slow his fall at all. He hit the frozen ground and died on impact. His invention had performed exactly as the evidence predicted it would.
And so, Franz Reichelt isn't remembered as an aviation pioneer. He didn't end up saving any lives. Instead, his story has become this powerful, enduring warning from history.
So why are we still talking about this over 100 years later? What's the takeaway here? Well, it's a timeless lesson about the real danger of ambition turning into obsession. It's about that classic conflict between a passionate belief and cold, hard evidence. And ultimately, it's about that razor-thin line between being a visionary and fatally fooling yourself.
And that leaves us with one last difficult question to chew on. In the drive for progress, for that next big breakthrough, where exactly is the line between a visionary